So this is our second video on evolution, and this is going to be a short video. We're just going to define what evolution is generally, and we're going to look at one of the earlier theories of evolution. So like I said, to start, let's just define what evolution is. The definition of evolution is a change in species over time. In evolution, that similar definition can be used to talk about the evolution of just about anything in its change over time. And the whole idea behind evolution is right here, that the great diversity of life on Earth is the result of more than 3.5 billion years of evolution, during which time species were replaced over time by other species. So that means that, like the definition says, species have changed over time. And the key question here becomes, how have living things changed through time from the first cell to life as we know it today? You'll remember that in the earlier part of the notes, we talked about the theories of how the first cell came about with the different gases that were present and energy from either solar radiation or lightning, and they led to the first cell. And so how have we gone from one cell to the diversity of life as we see it today? So we're going to talk about, in order to talk about evolution, we're going to start with one of the early theories of evolution, and that was proposed by Jean-Baptiste Lamarck. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit so we can fill in some information here. So Jean-Baptiste Lamarck, he did his work in the early 1800s, and he's known for the law of use and disuse. And there were two key components to that law. Number one says that structures develop through use or disappear through disuse based on a need to change. So basically, structures develop when they're needed and disappear when no longer needed. And then the key part of this was how these were passed on to the offspring. So this part of his theory, or his law, was called the inheritance of acquired characteristics. And what this said is that the new or acquired characteristics that showed up when they were needed or showed up when they were used could be passed on to offspring. So let's think about an example of what Lamarck's theory then would have meant. Lamarck's theory, starting about law of use and disuse, structures develop when they're needed and disappear when no longer needed. So this would be like me saying it would be useful to have a third arm and a third hand, because that way I can hold a lot more things. And so I would develop a third arm and a third hand. And then because I now have that third arm and third hand, it could be passed on to my offspring. So the question here states that Lamarck was wrong, and why was he wrong? So I'm actually going to put that in a question on Educanon so you can answer it there. And then we'll go on to video 3.